it's about time that we get started. So thanks again for everybody to make the time tonight out of your busy day on a Tuesday night to attend this webinar. I'm Wen, your host tonight. So during the day, I'm the CEO and the co-founder of Kubi. A really quick brief intro about Kubi. We're on a mission to unlock data-driven B2C sales. What Kubi really does is we bring visibility and insights into customer conversations that your team, from your team's individual WhatsApp numbers. And we also centralize these conversations into a database with our Kubi workspace and also with our CRM integrations. But tonight, I'm your host for this amazing webinar that I've been anticipating for a long time, especially with our honorable guest tonight that we have. It's Manish Chanchal from NoBroker.
Hey, Ben, thank you so much. Hey, good evening, everyone. I hope you all are fit and fine.
Manish, how do you feel tonight?
It's amazing. Thanks for hosting me here. It's been, the time I've been waiting for a long time that you people have invited, and finally the day is here.
Yeah, finally the time comes. Yeah. So really quick intro on Manish. He's the Zonal Sales Head from NoBroker, looking after North and East market, based in Gurgaon. And NoBroker needs no introduction. It's a Bangalore-based real estate search portal that connects property owners with tenants and buyers directly. So, and Manish has over 12 plus years of sales experience. So he's a true sales expert in the country, in the region. So I'm particularly excited to have him join this webinar to talk about sales career. Really, he's the best person to speak about this topic. And then we have so much to uncover from him. So very much looking forward to it. And I started to see more attendees coming into the webinar. So pretty exciting night. Right. So Manish, would you like to maybe introduce yourself a little bit more?
Right. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to, introduce myself here. It has been a wonderful evening. I've been waiting for the entire day time to come, and so that I can, meet people and interact with each other. First of all, I would like to thank Scooby for inviting this wonderful webinar, wherein this is going to be a first webinar wherein I am going to be the host. So as you said, rightly mentioned, this is going to be a sales webinar. So starting from my introduction, like my name is Manish. I'm basically from Gurgaon, India. I've been based out. On and off, it is close to 10 plus years of experience. So I started my career, working with Cafe Coffee Day. I worked with Cafe Coffee Day for almost, four plus years. So I started my career as an initial stage, like a team member who works in a cafe or restaurant, who takes order from the guest and serves to the, guest within the stipulated time. So it was a wonderful journey. In this span of 4 years with Coffee Day, I got around 8 promotions, and I got elevated to an area operations manager profile. So as an Amazing. Area operations manager, I used to take care of 8 different outlets of Cafe Coffee Day, wherein I was responsible for the sales and operations for all those outlets. Things ensure the things are moving as per the SOPs and their P&L and everything I used to take care of. So I would say this was not a sales job per se, but it was more of an operations job, that too in the hospitality sector, I would say. So I did not have any sales experience before I started my sales career in the previous. So
wow.
And then yeah. So actually, so when there was a time, when the startup was booming all around, India was also new to this, world in this startup. And a lot of my colleagues and seniors were working with the startup industry, and all of a sudden I got a call from one of my friend and say, hey, would you like to switch from your existing job? I said, what? Why? Why should I make a switch since things are moving great here and I'm pretty happy with my existing job? So they said, no, a lot of startups are coming, you can get exponential growth, and you can make your own career. They pay very handsomely. Yeah.
This is sort of which year? Back in which year?
It was in 2015 when it was, I mean, almost 4 years with working with Cafe Coffee Day.
Wow. Okay.
Right,
This
right.
is well before India had 100 unicorns back in
Absolutely,
7 years
absolutely.
ago. But you got in tech
Absolutely.
early. Yeah.
Right, right, right. Almost 7 years ago. So, I mean, that's how this thing started. So I thought, okay, I did my research and all those stuff. I took, mentorship and suggestions from a few of my colleagues and friends. And then they said, I think you have nothing to lose. You can go ahead and give it a try. At least you'll get to learn something. I said, yeah, that's actually a point. So I made a try and I, worked with a startup called Tiny Owl Technologies, which
Mm.
was a pretty recent startup, really handsomely paid. And this is where I started my sales journey. I
Okay.
joined them as a assistant area sales manager.
Okay.
So though if you see in designation wise, of course there is a demotion in the position which I used to
Yeah.
hold earlier with Coffee Day.
Yeah.
And so I joined as assistant area sales manager. And Tiny Owl was, I mean, most of the people, I don't know whether they know it or not, because the startup couldn't survive because of financial crunches.
Right.
But it was a pretty decent startup working with in the food delivery segment and competing with the players like Zomato and Food Panda back then in 2015. So very decent startup. I was doing excellently well in Delhi NCR market. Since it was my first job in the sales career, I started from the very initial, stage.
What was there
Uh,
like a role that you were in
yeah,
as a
yeah.
first sales role? Yeah. What is it?
Right, right. So it was an individual contributor role, though my position was assistant area sales manager.
Super
But I
cool.
had been, working individually because I had no prior sales experience. So everyone, the people who hired me was, kind of uh, did not had that trust whether I would be able to lead a team of salespeople or not. So I mean, for me it was also a learning. So I took a challenge, that okay, let me start from the initial phase because it's a different domain altogether, uh, as I worked in operations and it is all new sales now.
Gotcha.
So but yes, it I did excellently well. And I, unfortunately, the startup couldn't survive, so I had to leave in like 7 months, and the startup just got vanished. So for me, I thought, okay, this is the end of my sales career. I don't want to do any more sales. And also, I mean, yeah. And also, I thought, okay, since it is the end, and also I don't want to work with the startups anymore because my first experience wasn't that great.
Yep.
So I thought, okay, let me go back to my, the old fashioned thing wherein I'll work with the settled organization
Yep.
and the operations job and all. But in 2016, January 2016, I remember I got in touch with very amazing people, Satyam Dharmora. It was a very nascent startup, a very pretty decent startup. All the founders were very, they had a very strong pedigree, and the
Mm.
startup is still working fine, So I got in touch with them with one of my accountants. They introduced me to Satyam Dharmora, and then that's how I got to know another startup called I2E1, which was
Ah.
into Wi-Fi based analytics. So yes, that's where I would say my actual sales journey started, and that's where my sales career took off.
And
So
this is you said it's a Wi-Fi analytics product. Is it a software
absolutely.
product or hardware?
Yeah, so it was actually a SaaS product. So we used to sell hardware, but actually it was a software which, so we used to sell a customized, Wi-Fi router to the QSR segment, to the hotel and hospitality industry, wherein it was actually we were using their internet and we were creating a free Wi-Fi hotspot into their premises.
I
So
see.
which was actually helping them to gather the customer database, the insights, and the analytics, what kind of customers they are getting, what is their wallet size, their visit behavior patterns and all. So it was a very, very amazing startup, and I thought, okay, this is the thing which I want to do. I mean, let me do start my sales career. I'm sure it will take off. So actually, indeed, it took off and it went really well. I mean, 4 years just flown like anything. I started as a BDM there, sales manager basically,
Yep.
and then got three promotions in between. I you know started sales and operations, everything from scratch in Delhi NCR market. And once everything got settled, I moved to Bangalore, wherein I was taking care of the entire southern the Bangalore market. And through channel partner, we were managing other cities like Hyderabad, Chennai, and Kochi and all. So 4 years, amazing learning with the sales, and that's where I realized, okay, sales is the thing where you can do wonders. And I
Yeah.
mean, you can do wonders. I mean, you can get whatever you want. You can achieve any heights if you are, of course, dedicated and sound enough towards your job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. So
And
that's
then,
how. Yeah.
sorry, go ahead. And I'm sure your career doesn't stop there. There's even more amazing things that's happening.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, and then after working with 4 years there, I started my career. I mean, I switched to another rocket ship, which is my current company, No Broker. So I joined as a city head there in Bangalore back in right before the COVID started in January 2020. And then I mean, it's been almost 20 months, almost 4 years I'm going to complete. Currently I'm working as a zonal head here, heading the Delhi NCR market, apart from the emerging cities like Calcutta, Ahmedabad, and other two different cities I'm taking care of.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I think people can definitely draw inspiration from your career, from non-tech, non-sales, breaking to tech and sales, and then climb up the ladder so fast and by joining
Right,
fast-growing companies in at the right timing.
right.
And so I
Absolutely.
think that's definitely, broadly speaking, the inspiration that I'm looking at here. But I wonder if you can share some more specific sort of major learnings, your career, especially in
Yeah.
these few, different job experiences. What do you really draw out of these as a major learning that keeps you so successful, or it makes you
Right.
so successful?
Right,
Yeah.
right. So when the audience, I when I started my sales career, I was kind of very skeptical whether, because in India, sales had has people had different perspective when it comes to sales. They always think people gonna come to the them and show some random product. They'll take their time and do nothing. They make fool out of the people. This is the kind of perception which I understood later when I started my sales career, and this is the kind of perception which I had before
Yeah.
I started. But moving into the startup industry, it completely changed my perception towards sales job. It is a very well steamed job. I mean, of course, there are challenges. A lot of challenges are there, but if you are working in a focused manner, I think you can do a lot of wonders. So for me, success did not happen in a single day. It took a lot of hard work, or maybe you can say consistency. That's where the success lies. So
Mm.
when I started, I did not had pre-sales background. So I
Yeah.
thought, how would I be able to make it? Because there are a lot of people who had prior experiences and they have done wonders in sales.
Yeah.
So with me, the only thing which I had was the hard work. I understood that I'll have to spend more time in the field, probably to understand the customers, probably to understand the segment, what are the modus operandi of sales, how does it happen, how does and for a people like introvert people like me, it was even difficult. Because people tend to say that the sales is the job for the people who are outspoken, who are kind of extrovert, who the people who talks more. But then I realized, like, even an introvert people can do a lot of wonders in sales.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think in my career, I've seen some introverted people who actually do extremely well. Especially, as we grow in our career,
Right,
introvert or versus extrovert, it's not really a definitive term. It's not binary. It's
right.
not black and white. And there's some definitely certain advantages of being an introverted people. So
Right.
I wonder, um, how did you really change, like upscale yourself? Maybe give us like, one or two examples that the audience can take away to apply to
Right,
their jobs.
right, right. Yeah, so when I think I mean to for the upskilling, there are a lot of tools in the internet nowadays. I
Yeah.
mean, you can learn a lot of things from from YouTube itself, wherein you do not need to take any subscriptions, right? It
Yeah.
is absolutely the free content which is available there in the social media platform,
Yeah.
and of course in other platform like YouTube or LinkedIn and all. So for me, I mean, the learning happened. I mean, I consider myself a very blessed person that I met a lot of like-minded people who actually inspired me to do well. And also, I mean, one needs to have a strong mentor and friends in their life wherein they can go and discuss their problems so that they get the solution. Because every individual gets stuck at some point of time in their life wherein they need some guide and mentorship from their friends or acquaintance. So
Yeah.
I had those people, and in fact those people are still there in my life and career wherein I seek advices. So one thing which I learned from the LinkedIn
Yeah.
is a very major platform, and for me it changed my life in a lot of manners when it comes to the professional life. I made so many contacts and so many influencers are there wherein I got connected with them and learned so much, so many things. A lot of people are from the sales background which shared their experiences, best practices and learnings, which made a lot of wonders in my career. So funnel LinkedIn. And also I do a lot of book reading nowadays. I mean I started reading back in 2020 when I joined
W-
when I moved to
would you
Bangalore.
share maybe one book that you're reading recently?
Yeah, so it is the dip basically. I am
Ah,
reading currently. It is a very small thin line book, but it actually gives a lot of perspective about life and about career. That every point, any point of life, any point of in your life or professional journey, you are going to feel the dip.
yeah.
How you are going to manage that dip with your persistence and the key takeaways which you have taken from your previous journey is going to what matters the most. So this is the book, but I suggest one book which is going to make a lot of differences in the people's life is The Outlier by Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah, that's a really
So
good one.
that is one of the amazing book which I have read so far. And this I read before moving into the sales. So the book
Right.
book actually talks about the outlier which are there in the word, wherein an outlier who knows nothing about anything which is coming up new, but can do wonders if they are very persistent and you know and
Amazing.
consistent with their
Yeah.
effort.
Yeah. So
And
two books. One,
yeah,
just to summarize, two books: The Dip and The Outliers. For the new attendees coming to the webinar, that's the two books that Manish is reading or has recommended to people.
absolutely.
And go on, sir. You're gonna say something.
Right, right. And also, I mean, so there is one guy called Saurabh Sen Gupta. He has a very strong pedigree, and I fortunately I got to work with him for quite some time for some time, and he runs his own kind of he has his own startup which is called Sales Design Institute.
Mm.
He is an amazing sales guy I have ever met. He runs so many courses related, and that those courses are actually designed with the practical experience he has got from the ground. So I would strongly recommend people to go check it out, his profile and courses on LinkedIn. And there is a lot to learn from this person. Saurabh Sen Gupta is the name. I'll just ping in the chat box so that people can things.
Yep. We'll also put the note in the show note, so or on social as we share the webinar recording. Amazing. And I also invite the audience to raise any questions by typing your question in the chat box too. You can do
Please
that
do.
throughout the webinar, and we'll get to your
Right,
question at the end.
right,
So
right.
awesome. As we were speaking about journey, personal journey, I also wonder, on the flip side, did you ever wonder if sales was the right career choice for you? What were your sort of reasons to choose this path, looking back from your career? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So as I said, when I mean, I even today I get a goosebumps, and I thought whether I made a right move moving to the sales or not.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think I think that's a common thing which happens with everyone, not just with the
Yep.
salesperson, with everyone. Whenever you feel the dip, and whenever you are not getting the results, expected results as per your efforts which you are putting. So even now, as I said, I mean, a day last month for me, for example, in the no brokerhood wasn't that great. I mean, in terms of sales numbers and all, I thought, what I mean, should am I making the right move, and am I going into the right direction, not?
Mhm.
So these self doubt, I think, I are going to come whether you are working in sales or not. But sales may it happens very frequently, because it is actually a numbers based game, and people are you are going to get promoted, or you are going to get increments, or whatever happening basis on the number, basis on your previous track record, how have you achieved your numbers. But I'll to beat this phobia, and to overcome this menace, is to stay consistent. I mean, the
Yep.
performance is going to get a dip, because every day cannot be the same. So you just need to stay consistent, stay focused, understood what went wrong, whatever efforts you have made, whether you channelize your efforts into the right direction, not. I'm sure, I mean, if these things are under your control, you can bounce back with a lot of bang. Also, we need to measure inputs very frequently and very promptly, what
Yeah.
kind of efforts we are putting in the ground, be it doing calling a field visit, or number of calls you made, number of clients you are meeting, or number of product demonstration you are giving. It has to be a measurable effect, effort, wherein you can see and measure your efforts on a regular basis. So yes, I still wonder, but actually it gives me a lot of confidence and a lot of satisfaction when I look back and fix those things.
Yeah, I think that really tells us sales is not just about the outcome, but really about the consistency and activities too, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So even during the downtime, during the dip, you have to think about consistency, and that'll bring you back to the uptime, to the high time. So
Right.
amazing. And since this topic, this webinar is about decoding sales as a career option. So I'll keep asking a few tips or aspects about building your career as a salesperson.
Right.
What would you say are, the most useful sales training programs or degrees for students out there to build as a broad spectrum of skills and behaviors needed to become a successful salesperson?
Right, right. So as I said, when I think there are a lot of things and stuff, and material which is available online, and training programs are there. As I said, I strongly recommend this guy Saurabh Sen Gupta.
Yeah.
I mean, people can join their courses and see a lot of improvements in themselves. So it is a highly recommend person who can actually make a lot of impact in your sales career. And again, I think there is no alternative to do a regular field visit, whether you are in the upside in the ladder, or in the senior most position. There is no alternative to the regular visits, regular client meeting, very, because that's where you get the most me to most experienced person at the clientele. They are going to give you the right ideas and right feedback, wherein you need to make a fix. So as I said, there is no alternative to this. And as far as training material and programs are concerned, I think LinkedIn is a very good platform wherein you can
Yeah.
subscribe. You can take a lot of free courses. Saurav Sen Gupta, you can the person you can reach out to, and enroll for his courses. I'm sure they
Amazing.
can. I mean, people can have a lot of improvements in their career.
That's awesome. All right.
Yeah.
We'll definitely put this in the show note. And to think more in terms of career, sales as a career, there are sort of different paths or steps people can take to build their sales career. And then you yourself sort of broke into tech, broke into sales from a non-tech and non-sales roles. And then you also, change jobs and then gradually build up to where you are today. I wonder if you think about sales as a career path, and there are various options in there. Well, how would you recommend maybe a someone who were you 10 years ago, 12 years ago, who are not in sales, not in tech, how would you suggest them to break into sales in tech?
Right.
Aside from, of course, the self-learning tools and materials that we talked about, maybe more in terms of like, career choice, job choices, what would you recommend to do?
Right. Understood. So, I mean, when off late, since I have been managing a team here with No Broker Hood, and I have seen a lot of people coming in, going out,
Yeah.
joining and leaving the organization. A lot of people have stayed and still, working for with us for a long time, and they have achieved, a lot of heights here, be it in terms of reward, be it monetary, and the, promotions and all. So I see, people, this is what my understanding has been in the, in basis on the previous experience. A lot of people confuse sales with the marketing. I mean, these, I mean, though they are correlated, but I think there is a lot of difference. People has to be clear into their mind what actually they are going to do.
Mm,
Whether they want to make their career in the marketing or they want to make career in sales, right?
right.
Marketing is little different from sales because it creates a pull. It is kind of awareness you are creating among the people. Whereas sales is something which wherein you will be pushing the customer. This is what I say.
Yeah.
Because you are going to be a consultant for the, for the client or for the customer, when you have to generate a need in the client's mind wherein they are going to buy. So first we need to clear, one has to be very clear with their approach, whether they want to be a salesperson or a marketing representative.
Yeah.
That's, and then again, sales may, there are two things, right? Hunting and farming. That's how sales happen. So the people comes with the two mindset. One is the hunt, who just break new sales and moves on, and
Yeah.
there is a one person, who's doing farming, who stick with one thing and keeps nurturing them, watering them, so that they can reap the fruit, in the times to come. So one has to be also clear about whether they are good at, hitting the right person, close them, and then they move on to the new sales, or they are kind of, get stick with one client and, nurture them, farm them, water them, so that they can reap the fruit, wherein the key account management role comes into the picture. So one is the sales hardcore hunting background. So, and then the other one comes as a key account management role, which is a farming, aspect as well. So people has to, have to be very clear on this,
Yeah.
whether while making their, choosing sales as a career.
Do you think there is a easier role to go into between farming and hunting? Should a person to consider farming first or hunting first, or it's all based on their preference and their personality or their
Uh,
skills?
right, right. I think so. I mean, and at times people may have confusion. I'm sure. I mean, and I have been one of them, because people do get confused whether I should be a hunting person or a farming person. Why? Because I haven't done sales before, so I have no idea how it is going to be. What I am gonna do here. So what they can do is, I think they can start normally with the hunting thing,
Mm,
because hunting is the one which gives them more, exposure. Of course, I mean, meeting with the regular clients and meeting different people, because it's a
yeah.
hunting job altogether. And then over time they can understand whether hunting is going to work for them, or they can move on to the farming role. I don't think people will get confused between this, because by meeting different clients, anyways one will be able to understand their caliber, whether he or she is the right fit for the hunting job.
Yeah.
So hunting would be the right thing to start with, and then probably later they can make, make their mind and switch one different domain to different. Anyways, it's a sales altogether, so it is not going to make much difference and not going to be very hard for them.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um, you are a sales manager, and then you're not just you're leading a large sales team now. So looking at your past experience, it's kind of amazing. And I learned this from your LinkedIn. Like, you're recognized as the best manager several times in your tenure, right? You're well recognized by your people on your team. So I think you're the best person to answer this type of question. What kind of qualities, behavior do you think a good manager, sales manager, should really have?
Right, right. First of all, thank you for the praise. But when so I think uh, there is no alternative, for the self improvement. One needs to have a growth mindset, wherein you are constantly striving for the growth and for the new learning.
Yeah.
You are open for everything which new comes up.
Right.
I see a lot of people have a lot of inertia whenever there is a new change coming in, be it in the policy or SOPs or maybe anything you say, people would have resistance to change. So one needs to be very comfortable with the change, because that's where your expertise comes in. Whether you will be going to adopt those change very easily, or it is going to be difficult. So if you are going to adopt those changes easily, you can make a lot of difference. So first is the growth mindset. Second is the constant learning. So I as an individual believe in constant learning. I always keep on striving for the new things which comes up in the market. I look for the material or books which can actually help me in accelerate my learnings or the career growth. So that's where I think it is very, very, very important for any person, not just in the sales, but any person who is working. And then again comes for the organizational
Yeah.
perspective. So every organization has their financial goal which has to be met for the particular region or particular area you've been given or assigned. So you'll have to break down the larger targets into the small pieces, and you'll have to work and act accordingly. First, you need to identify your team members who are going to work for you and who are going to take those leads, and you'll have to assign, you'll have to delegate those small work to different people, so that you will be able to do a lot of good chunk of work in a within the stipulated time which we have been given. That's second. Team allocation, I would say team
Yeah.
allocation is also very important part which plays in the long run. And second, people has to people has to have very patience, I think, when you are running looking the things in the long term.
Yeah.
Because I see people tend to overestimate things in the long term, in the short term, and underestimate in the long term. So when it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, right? Although
Yeah.
both requires a lot of effort, but when we are running for the marathon, you'll have to save energy and work accordingly, so that you can run for 2 hours at least. In the career, it is more than 20 years or 30 years as per individual. So you have to be patient, and then you'll have to think long term. And once you are into that zone, I think the best manager or any awards or rewards you are talking about can be easily achievable.
That makes a lot of sense. I wonder on the flip side of that question, when you interview salespeople, maybe what kind of traits you're looking for in these type of salespeople? Maybe especially the junior ones, where you're just looking at not their resume, but you're looking at their
Right.
personal traits.
Right.
Maybe give us one to two, or maybe even three traits that you definitely
Right.
want to have in your salespeople.
Right, right. So, I mean, for the junior role, when we are interviewing, let's say for the territory and BDM, we call it business
Okay.
development managers. That's an individual contributor role, and that's a very initial stage in our organization, I would say. So when we are hiring for those people, I personally look for the hunger to grow, whether the person has a lot of enough hunger in their belly, so that he or she is ready to adopt the culture fast moving environment, and he or she is not going to break down when there is a lot of pressure which comes in along with the sales, because it
Yeah.
generally happens with sales. And there are two things which is most very common, and I think I'm sure a lot of organizations are looking after. There is one, the will. The person should have high will and skill. If the person does not have a skill can be coachable, right? We can teach them, we can buddy mentor them, we can mentor them so that they can learn these skills. But person should have very high will, because they wants to work, and they should have a mindset to learn those new skills. So if person has a high will and he is low on the skill, I would go ahead with that particular person, because I know if he or she has a high will, I can teach the skills to them, and it works wonderful.
Yep. Sounds like motivation is really the key. It's even more important than the past experiences or skills, right?
Absolutely.
Even in
Yeah.
sales.
Right.
Cool. Since you talk about no broker a little bit, so I wonder, this is my next question. What are the some characteristics of the sales team at no broker that makes it an awesome place
Right.
for to further your sales career for people to
Right.
join no broker sales team?
Right. Right. So, NoBrokerHOOD, as you mentioned, we are the only prop tech startup in
Yeah.
not just in not just in India but across the globe. So we are the only C2C, customer to customer platform, and the only prop tech startup which is working in this particular domain. So, and I mean, you'd be surprised, we are a team of close to 7,000 plus members working across India. So that has been an amazing journey with No Broker Hood. Team is very strong, and a lot of characteristics are there. So we have been I've been hiring the ground salesperson and the mid senior role, I would say the area sales manager and the city head, for quite some time. It's been almost 5 years. And two things which we look in the people, as I said, it is first the hunger, the will. The person should have a very high will so that we can show, because we are startup is a very fast moving world, right? If you do not perform, you will perish.
Yeah.
That's how it happens. I mean, I am not saying to discourage people, but that's the I mean, reality. And people are actually doing good. They know the startup culture, right? So uh, here in No Brokerhood, the characteristic of salesperson is the input, the kind
Yep.
of product visit, field visit they are making, the kind of demonstration they are. So we do not measure people's success by output. Yes, you were saying something.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so do you actually measure your team based on their input and just say yes?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
We do not. We actually reward them basis on their input. How many product demonstration I mean, one has given, and how many meetings they are doing on a daily basis. Because that's where the output is secondary. Unless
Yeah.
you haven't put any input or efforts on the ground, you are not going to get any outputs, right? So we reward people basis on their inputs, the efforts they are making, and I'm sure if one is, and then there is a buddy leading program which happens on the ground, wherein NASM, I as a zonal head, and all the senior management level people, they regularly go out in the visit along with the new guy or mid senior level person in order to understand what actually happening in the market, how clients are reacting, and where are we as a team salesperson lacking, so that we can give them immediate feedback, what needs to be fixed. Apart from that, are the all the senior management at the city level, be it an area sales manager or city head, they actually coach people on a regular basis. They take their demos, they listen to their demos, they do audit their demos in order to understand what an individual, where they actually needs to improve, and what good practices actually they are doing, so that we can share those good
Mm.
learnings across all the team members, so that they can also learn
So
across.
it's also a collaborative and ensuring culture. And then
Absolutely.
the managers provide support and training to the sales team members.
Right, right. Because that's how we deal with the the ground level challenges, and also we can motivate people by being in the ground along with them. They also
Yeah.
feel connected with the senior and the management as a whole.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the strength of no brokerhood lies, and we are very particular about this. One has to coach people like anything. That's where, I mean, we can build up a high performing team for the organization which delivers a result.
That's awesome. That's
Right.
really good to
And
hear, especially
right.
when managers want to devote more time to train their people.
Absolutely. And one
Mhm.
more thing I would like to mention, be as transparent as you can with the team. I mean,
Mm.
transparency is the key in the long term. You cannot hide, things from the team members, because anyways, they are going to catch hold of things in the long run. Be transparent, be it policy, be it performance, what kind of feedback you are going to give to the person. If you are transparent, person will take it they'll understand the crux, and they'll understand things very easily. and then they'll perform for you and work accordingly.
Yeah, I guess transparency is really key to build trust. Once you have
Absolutely,
trust with your team members, then it's gonna be a high performing team.
absolutely, absolutely.
Cool. We had a great 40-minute session so far. So as we're entering sort of the end of the webinar, I have one last question here.
Yeah,
Just wonder if you have any parting words of wisdom for freshers,
yeah,
juniors, looking to start their career in sales. What do you want to say to them?
right,
Um,
right.
yeah, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So, I mean, while working, when I started my career with, of course, it is all learned from, these are my personal thing, and I learned from a lot of people who are there in the industry and from the organization I have worked with. So, with Cafe Coffee Day, there were a lot of policies, right? There were a lot of policies, and a lot of senior were coming in, giving their wisdom, sharing with us. I got to know one word which actually stick to my mind even now, and I think that is going to help me and any individual. If they want to take it away, so that is called prism, prism, right? Prism.
Mm,
Likewise, a prism, one ray comes in, and then it gives a vibror, the rainbow effect on the other
yeah,
side.
yeah,
So the P stands for pride. Always take pride on the work you do. It
yep,
is, you should be, whether it is sales or anything else, you should be proud of your work or anything you do in your life. The R, respect for respect. Always respect your customer, or your peers or your superiors. It is very necessary to have respect towards them, and in return you'll get the same respect from those people. I stand for integrity, which is a very strong, and I think there is no alternative to this. It is a very strong attribute for a professional or for an individual. I think that's the most, integrity cannot be bought. It is, it is over time. Integrity and trust is something which can be
yep,
earned, right? It is not a commodity,
no,
I would say,
yeah,
which you can go and buy. So integrity is a very major thing. And then the S stands for self discipline. I think one has to be a very disciplined person when it comes to the punctuality, or the, anything, you name it. One has to be a very self disciplined person. The discipline is the only way you can walk further, or you can go longer in the life. If you're not disciplined, you will not, I doubt people will be able to grow. And the M stands for motivation,
mm,
right? As I said, one needs to be stay motivated across all the situations. There could be rejections, there could be the things are not going in your favor as you might have planned. So there could be a lot of rejection, but at least at last you should stay motivated so that you can give your best whenever the time comes. So
yeah.
prism is the value, and I would say that has stick in my mind, and I think that has helped me a lot, and I'm sure it is going to help other person as well.
PRISM. Guys,
Yes.
that's the word of wisdom. Five very important characteristics or traits that everybody should have going to their career. So thank you so much, Manish. Super helpful. We have a few questions from the
Right.
Q&A. Should we take some of them?
Yeah, please, please, please.
All
I'll
right. So I'm gonna go from the top and let me know
right.
if you're ready to take the question. So the
Just
first one we have from Turan, which is, what are the books that you recommend for sales professionals? I think you mentioned a few already.
yeah.
So just if there's anything else you'd like to mention.
So Charan, I don't recall or don't know the particular book for the sales professional, but I think the books which I have read, multiple books are there which can actually make a lot of impact in the individual's life. One is The Outlier. I would highly recommend to read that book, and there are other books like Deep Work and One Thing. These are the books which can actually help you a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Super. We're gonna put them in the show notes. So
yeah,
the
just
next question it's gonna be, so we also briefly touch on this, but there might be something else you would like to share. What are the tips for entry sale professional to close sales faster? I think this question is particularly on closing sales faster. So how would you suggest someone who's new to sales to help them close
right.
faster?
So, Charan, I mean, for this, I think the constant follow-up is going to make a lot of difference. And at the same time, you'll have to understand there are, other competitors as well in the market, which may be selling the same product which you people, I mean, we as an individual or sales professional are doing. So one needs to have a clear understanding of the market as well as what competitions are doing, right? Then only you are going to be ahead of them. And whenever there is a prospect come, you can actually go and sell them when you are aware what competition has to offer to that particular person. So one is the regular follow up and regular checks on whatever prospect and leads you are making. Second, be on the top of your competition, have a in ground and depth knowledge of your competition so that you can hit them at the right end and close the sales faster.
Makes sense. Makes so consistent follow up, and then be well educated on your competition, right? So on to the next one. This is a question around high ticket sales. Any tips for high ticket sales?
uh, yeah. So high ticket sale, Anuja, I mean, of course, there has to be, I believe high ticket sell, this has been my personal experience working in the previous organization. It really, depends on the client you are meeting. And of course, you need to have a better understanding of your client. High ticket sell always takes a lot of time because the sales cycle would be very high. But if you have a very good references there, I mean, take use of LinkedIn, and there has to be testimonial and validation of your product and services which we are offering. Because when once a client is going to invest you some of money into your product or services you are offering, they need some sort of validation. And when there is a validation, I mean, and the proverb we say, from when person listen from the horse's mouth, it helps them make faster decision. So have always have a validation and client testimonial, which makes a lot of impact in the high ticket sale.
Yeah, totally, totally. And if I can just add on to that, I think for high ticket sales, if you're talking about like B2B enterprise sales, a lot of them is also about how you get the proper information to qualify them in the very beginning. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
you might be pursuing a deal that you think it's gonna come 6 months
Right.
later, but it doesn't close.
Right.
So
So yeah,
yeah,
yeah, there has to have a lot of checks on this, as you mentioned, Ben.
yeah,
Right, Peter.
exactly. Exactly. And I guess navigating through the organization, especially in B2B world, it's quite complicated and also a very, very, very challenging job, but it's also very rewarding. So
Right.
it requires different skill set. But yeah, so that's also about high ticket sales.
Right. Right.
All right, Manish. Looks like we ran through some pretty good questions, and then pretty much we're close to the end of the night. Um, it's
Yeah.
great. It's a great
Yeah.
session. And
Thanks,
I'm
Ben.
gonna give one more chance for people to ask any questions. Okay, I
Yeah.
think that's
Feel
pretty
free.
much all.
Please. I'm available on LinkedIn. We can connect and have a session. I mean, chat whenever you feel free. And if you want to ask any questions, I'm all ears.
All right, thank you. Great session to have with you today, Manish. And then thanks for everybody attending the webinar tonight. We're gonna share the information on our social, so feel free to follow up. Follow us on social to get more information there too about Manish and Kubi and No Broker too. All
Thanks.
right.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for hosting me. Thanks, everyone, for the joining the session.